for tuning into this episode of Tech Tips. We're going to be talking today about the DUAL-LOK 5 and DUAL-LOK 7. These suppressors are cutting-edge QD suppressors from Griffin Armament. They feature the new DUAL-LOK mounting system, so we're going to talk about those today and show you the new mounting system. But also, these suppressors are very high quality, very high end. A lot of R&D has been put into these. Obviously, the 20 years of suppressor design and manufacturing that we've been doing. There's existing patent technology that applies, as well as new patent technology. So we're very excited to introduce these suppressors for you guys. And I'll just start with a brief history on tubeless silencers, because these silencers are in fact tubeless, which allows them to be lighter weight and more desirable for people who want lightweight silencers. But essentially, Griffin Armament was a US pioneer in tubeless technology dating back to 2010. So we've been manufacturing tubeless silencers for about 12 years now. Europe was doing it previous to that for several years. And American manufacturers, I think, were looking at that. Obviously, we were, and we decided, you know, in order to make silencers lighter weight, we're going to have to try to figure out this type of technology eventually. Now, the one detractor to tubeless silencers is that they are a little bit harder to manufacture because you're welding the silencer together. You don't have a tube to kind of stabilize the warped baffle core, so you have to really get your welding down and really do a lot of R&D and testing with the welding in order to make it as straight as possible. Of course, you can finish the bores with, you know, EDM wire technology or something like that, but we want to make it as best as we can right out the gate without having to do a lot of fixes. And if you looked at silencers, you know, 10 or 15 years ago that were welded and had bores that were really out of center of the end cap, that's kind of what that was, is that manufacturers were dealing with that warpage. So laser welding is kind of key to this family. We acquired laser welding technology a couple years ago, and we've been using that to increase the quality of our product for our customers, not only in terms of the depth of penetration and the optimization of the weld path, but also, you know, strength and reducing that total system weight. But those are the materials: 17.4 stainless steel and 718 Inconel. The 17.4 is H900 heat treated, so we're getting that, you know, mid 40 point Rockwell hardness for you, which is going to give you that really lifetime durable service life. Our 17.4 H900 heat treated silencers have lasted over 50,000 rounds, even from a high round count rapid fire end users and law enforcement, things like that. So the suppressor will outlast, you know, many different barrels on the firearm if you have to rebarrel over time. So just keep that in mind, that they last for an incredibly long time. Now, the mounting system is kind of one of the most interesting parts about this silencer, and I'll go into that next. I have a kind of an exploded silencer in front of me. The mounting system is unique, and it's a patent pending mounting system from Griffin. But it is also rather simple as well, because it only uses 3 parts: the locking ring in the rear, also the wire spring, the wave spring, and the tube body itself. And the tube body of the silencer has the mounting interface machined directly into it. So, you know, this is a component of the mounting system, but technically that's not even an independent part. So really there's only 2 parts in the mounting system, 2 major parts. There's 3 splined roll pins that we use to assemble it, but there's no maintenance needed on the silencer to the end user, so you would never take it apart. So you'll never see your silencer like this, but we thought it was important to show you this just so you have a better understanding of how the mounting system works. So you see the H900 heat-treated mounting system in the rear here. These 3 proponent features here is what will allow the collar to actually mount and lock. So there's pins that are driven into this. There's 3 pins that are driven into this rear collar under the spring. And then this U-shaped channel here is actually 2 different locking positions with a center neutral. And we'll show you some close-ups of that, but basically that allows, when you're using the actual muzzle devices, the muzzle devices have 60 splines to them. So you'll notice that there's these splines around the rear of the muzzle device. There's 60 of these splines, but because the mounting system on the silencer in this U channel has 2 different positions, that effectively allows us to have 120 different positions, or every 3 degrees in a 360-degree circle, we have another opportunity to lock the silencer. So that's kind of the novelty with the mount, is that we were able to achieve a mounting system that is not only wear-free, so there's no metal-on-metal ratcheting components. Some people might look at these muzzle devices and say, oh, that's a ratchet system, you know, like we've seen from other companies. No, it's not. The splines are actually anti-rotation features, so they don't actually do any metal-on-metal contact. And so being able to lock the silencer every 3 degrees of the circle allows us to really get a nice, tight, firm attachment before we lock. And that allows us to have extremely minimal point of impact shift and very high accuracy. So that is the reason why we wanted it to be so rigid with the lock. Now, I will show you on the inside of this ring, there are those 3 connecting points. So you'll see that those 3 points actually interact with the splines on a muzzle device. And that is the anti-rotation feature. So very, very locked. It's not a compression mount. There are other silencers in the market space that utilize wave springs, and they're really compression mounts. They tighten it and they press the silencer to the taper, which this system also has, but they don't actually have an anti-rotation feature. So this has the taper on the front of the muzzle device, which you see right here on this 2.25-inch flash hider. There's that taper edge on the before the Acme thread, and that taper also exists obviously inside the bore of the silencer. And so you do not really even have to have the mounting system locked in order for it to be rigidly attached to the firearm. Merely just tightening it, leaving it unlocked. We've shot that full auto, unlocked, totally unlocked, and it still stays attached to the firearm. So in reality, the locking system, the locking collar, is a redundant lock. It's an extra lock to the suppressor, so that if you're perhaps a law enforcement agency or a government entity and you want to make sure that the system has a provision to have a mechanical lock, so you don't have to worry about gear loss and things like that in the field, that is why the redundant lock is there. So the Acme threads on the muzzle devices offer you the speed of attachment. The locking ring obviously is that redundant lock, and then the taper interface is going to give you that accuracy, and it's going to make sure that you are also locked. That is the initial lock in the system, hence dual lock. So it has the taper lock as well as the locking collar. The muzzle devices are coated nitride, QPQ nitrided, and the silencers are, like I said, H900 heat treated, but they're also finished in a attractive and lustrous black Cerakote finish. So I'm going to grab a Griffin Mark I carbine, and we will show you how to mount this to your firearm. So I have in front of me a Griffin Mark I, obviously a very attractive and high quality rifle, but we have the tactical compensator, the DUAL-LOK tactical compensator muzzle device on here. And this is one of the ones that we used in testing, so you can obviously see that it is, you know, moderately used. But to attach the suppressor, you're going to take this rear collar and pull it back and turn it to the neutral position. That's the middle. That is unlocked now, and you'll see that the 3 prongs are rear of the collar. And if it's locked, it is flat and flush in the rear. So that's how you know that, okay, am I unlocked or am I locked? So you want to unlock the silencer first, then just simply thread it on to the muzzle device. So put it down, and that fast Acme thread. Make sure it's tight. We want to make sure it's tight. And then you will lock it. And I know that this one locks by twisting the collar to the right. However, when the silencer is tight, one thing that you should note is that only one of the 2 positions will lock. So if you see, I moved it to the opposite side. This is kind of like a false lock. This is not really locked because, as I said previously, we're rotating the 2 positions 3 degrees out of phase with one another. So only one of the sides will lock when you are tight, but it will always lock in the same way. So now that I know that I have this muzzle device mounted to the host firearm and I'm not going to change it, every time that I put the silencer on, I'm going to take it to the right in order to lock it. I'm going to twist it to the right, and then it will lock. And that is going to give us that super rigid mount, which is going to give us the most accuracy, the least point of impact shift, So that's how that is done. To unmount it, obviously, just take the collar, push it forward, twist it to that central unlocked position, and then with a little bit of force, break it loose off that taper and it'll come right off. So that is how you mount the silencer to the firearm. Maintenance questions on this. There's really not anything to maintain in terms of the mounting system. I know that other silencer manufacturers sometimes have, extra springs, extra screws, things like that, because they have, wear-prone mounting systems. We don't have any of that in this because there's no ratcheting. As you heard when I attached the silencer to the gun, there was no clicking going on. Whenever there's a clicking noise like that, that means there's metal on metal, and over time that will wear down, and then you have to replace a consumable component. But with this system, there's no such thing as consumable components. We engineered it that way on purpose. If for whatever reason you ever needed to service it, obviously the Griffin perpetual lifetime warranty is going to cover you. You can contact our customer service team, send it in. But in the 10 plus years we've been tracking customer service, we have had a less than 1% return rate for customer service. So the vast majority of these products never come back to us. But for cleaning, so obviously we're not going to disassemble this. This collar is installed with splined roll pins that are pressed at, I think, 20 tons of force or something like that. So they're in there to stay. So there's no need to do anything to the mounting system other than cleaning it. And that is true of any silencer from any company. Doesn't matter what the company is or the silencer. We know that firearms have carbon and copper and lead deposits. And so you want to maintain your gear in order for it to work as it should and be accurate. So the only thing that I would really suggest in terms of cleaning the silencer is to use a 1-inch brush on the inside of those Acme threads and essentially just brush them out and keep them free of carbon and copper. And the same thing obviously applies for the muzzle device itself. That taper is going to keep everything rear of that taper basically clean, but you do want to make sure that the taper itself is clean. So take a brass brush, every 500 or 1,000 rounds, something like that, and make sure that you brush the taper off so that the taper is clean. The taper is actually the geometry that's providing you with the accuracy to the system. And if you have a lobed taper because there's some carbon buildup on one area of it, then you're actually pushing the silencer out of true. So you do want to make sure that the taper is clean and that the inside of the mounting system is clean. Other than that, they are sealed silencers because they're laser welded. So there's no provision to take them apart. But the really cool thing about making them as light as we could is that they're just super light. The DUAL-LOK 5, for instance, is only 11.8 ounces, which is screaming light when you take into account that it's Inconel and 17.4 stainless steel and that it has a really high quality robust mounting system in it. So super light. The DUAL-LOK 7 is also crazy light. It is 12.6 ounces with the integrated DUAL-LOK mounting system. So they're super light cans, very high performance. They feature our EcoFlow baffle technology, which we've worked up over many years of testing. That is a very positive flow baffle system that we tune to every silencer and every caliber combination. So the 5.56 EcoFlow porting inside the baffles are slightly different than the 7 because the 7 is going to be host to different calibers like 300 blackout, 308, things like that. And the 5 is obviously more of a purpose-built 5.56 suppressor, so it's not going to have all those caliber flexibilities as much. And so we tune those baffles for the performance of the myriad of calibers that we'll be using them. But very low back pressure silencers because of the EcoFlow baffles, but also the muzzle signatures are really good. And we went through great research on flash mitigation with these suppressors as well. We really wanted these to be truly next-gen suppressors, and we did a lot of work on the flash hider front cap to minimize first-round flash as much as possible, as well as follow-on flash. We ended up including flow features on the front cap itself that are going to give you positive flow attributes to allow flow to flow through the end cap there as well, so that we're not choking the gas. even at that end cap in that last blast chamber. And those ports are also tuned not only for flow, but also for flash reduction. So there's really a lot kind of going on with these suppressors. And we're really happy with how they turned out. At the time of the DUAL-LOK launch, the muzzle device options which are available are going to be the minimalist DUAL-LOK muzzle brake that you guys know so well, that we've had in the taper mount line for quite a while. Also the 2.25 inch flash suppressor, the stealth flash suppressor that is pre-drilled for pinning and welding. We also have a minimalist flash suppressor, and these are all 17.4 stainless steel nitrided muzzle devices. The Paladin 2-port brake, so if you're putting this DUAL-LOK can on a 7.62 gas gun, like a 308 gas gun, perhaps you might want this, or a bolt gun, you might want this, the 2-port brake for maximum recoil reduction. And then we've got a hybrid compensator over here, the tactical compensator. This is a 2-piece laser welded design, which features very low concussion as well as a flash hiding end cap. And that is also pre-drilled for pinning and welding. And then we have a little bit of an oddity, and this is something that we don't have in the rest of our line, like the taper locks and things like that. But this is a flash suppressor, which is actually mil-spec BFA compatible for blank firing adapters, and it is also compatible with mil-spec bayonets with the M4A1 and M4 series mil-spec firearms. So you can mount a bayonet with this. You can also mount your blank firing adapter, and we also have simunitions training suppressors, as well as a BFA suppressor that fits that. So if you're a government agency and you're interested in these silencers, but you want to make sure that you have safety training products to go along with them, that is essentially why we manufactured that unit there. So that pretty much covers the majority of the DUAL-LOK products. In terms of thread pitches, go to our website, griffinarmament.com, for that. But we are going to be supporting the 18x1, 3/4x24, 14x1 left hand, and then obviously the 5/8 24.5x28, both in 22 and 9mm in the 1/2x28 and 30 and 45 in the 5/8 24. So there's plenty of coverage for the muzzle devices for all these, all the guns that you may have for these suppressors. So quite a bit of product support on the DUAL-LOK, and we're very excited about this. If you have any other questions about the suppressor series at all, definitely hit up our customer service. We have people staffed on phones to help our great customers. Also, you can shoot us an email, or you can hit us up on social, or come see us at a trade show. There's so many different ways to get in touch with us, but we love talking with our customers. And thank you so much for tuning into this episode. We'll catch you next time.